What's going on, guys? So baseball is finally here. I'm very excited about it. And just for fun, I'm gonna do some over/under win totals. I usually just do this stuff in my notes section, so I figured might as well just post it this time. I'm gonna pick an MVP. I'm gonna pick a Cy Young or both Cy Youngs, both MVPs, and a World Series matchup. So I'm sure most of this will be wrong, but I'm just doing it for fun, as I said, and with all that being said, let's get into it. N.L East first, we have the Washington Nationals. They won 97 last year, projected 92.5 this year. Give me the over once again. I don't see the how the Nationals really got worse. I think they got better. They're gonna get Adam Eaton back. You basically replace Jason Worth with Michael Taylor, who I think is a much better player than Worth at this point in his career. The pitching is great. You still have Strasburg. You still have Scherzer. Still have Gio. You still have Roark. The bullpen is pretty good. They have good depth for the Nationals. I like them for an over. On to the Braves we go. I'm going to go under for them. They have some impressive young players like Albies. Okuna's supposed to be great. Dansby Swanson might take another step. And they have solid players in Ciarte. Freddie Freeman's a great player. Their bullpen is all right. I mean, they have Vizcaino. I forget who else they have right now. But, I think 74.5 is a little too much for this Braves team. I'm going to have to go under for them. On to the Mets. The Mets it's just a team based off of health. I mean, they have a really talented team, to be honest with you. You look at the rotation: Syndergaard, Matz, Harvey, DeGrom, and they have Jason Vargas, who they got. I think he's an underrated pitcher. So I'm gonna pick the over for the Mets. I think if they can stay healthy or just relatively healthy. Last year, just the wheels fall off for them. So I'm gonna have to pick the over for them. Cespedes is there. They got Todd Frazier. They signed Adrian Gonzalez, veteran leadership and all that stuff. So picking the over for the Mets. On to the Phillies. I think the Phillies are a little underrated coming into this year. They're given a 75.5 number. They signed Arrieta, they signed Carlos Santana. They have young guys like Nick Williams, Maikel Franco, J.P. Crawford. I like them this year. I think they're going to surprise some people, so I'm going to go over. The Marlins are going to be absolutely atrocious in most people's minds, and I have to agree. I think they'll lose 100 games easily. When you lose Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich, D. Gordon, and replace them with pretty much nothing. I mean, JT Realmuto is their best hitter. He's already on the DL. Martin Prado's a good hitter on the DL. Their pitching is, Urina's okay. Despaigne is decent. Ziegler's a pretty good closer, but I mean, Tazawa's okay in the bullpen as well. I just, there's not many strengths for this team. Justin Bour and Starlin Castro are their best hitters right now, and that's not what you want to hear. So, I think it's going to be a long season for the Marlins, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to pick the under for sure. To the NL Central we go, and let's start with the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm picking the over for them, 85.5. They won 83 last year, but they picked up Marcell Ozuna. They have Tommy Pham, who really broke out last year. Matt Carpenter was a bit off last year. I think he'll bounce back. Yadi Molina's still there. You think about the starting rotation they have, and I like Luke Weaver a lot. He's a young player who came on last year. He should be good for a full season. Carlos Martinez, obviously. Adam Wainwright, definitely a holder. He's already on a DL, so not sure what to expect from him this year. And you look at the bullpen for the Cardinals, and I mean it's all right. I mean they have Tyler Lyons and Luke Gregerson, Brett Cecil, Bud Norris. I mean not great, but it should be all right. But I think the Cardinals they're just full of a bunch of solid hitters. I think DeJong's a good hitter, Colton Wong's a good hitter. Marcell Ozuna is gonna have a huge year for them, I believe. So not many weaknesses in that lineup, and I like them. Onto the Cubs. They won 92 last year. This year projected 94.5. They obviously added Yu Darvish, and you look at their lineup. I mean, I think the only weak player they have is Jason Hayward. Outside of that, everyone else I love for that team, hitting wise. So I think they'll be fine. You look at their bullpen, and they have Pedro Strop, they have Brandon Morrow, Carl Edwards, Steve Cishek, and Justin Wilson. It's a solid team overall, so I like the Cubs to go over. The Pirates, I mean, I don't love them, but you look, they added Corey Dickerson, who was I think just released from the Rays for whatever reason. Starling Marte, Polanco in right field. They have Jordy Mercer. Josh Bell was pretty big last year. Their starting rotation: James Owen Teon, Not sure if you pronounce it like that. I might pronounce some names wrong, so I apologize. Who else? They have Tyler Glasnow, who it was a big prospect, but he can never throw strikes. So if you fix that, he could be good. Ivan Nova they have. Trying to think. I don't know who else the Pirates have as starters. Bullpen they have Felipe Rivero. He's nasty. George Contos and I think Tyler Glasnow is a big wild card for them. If he can step up and be the pitcher they thought he was in the minors, then I think they'll be a much improved team, the Pirates. I picked the under for the Milwaukee Brewers. They did make some big moves. They got Christian Yelich. They got Lorenzo Cain. They're going to move Ryan Braun to first base. I don't know how he's going to do there. He wasn't great when he played third base back in the day, I remember. Their rotation, Chase Anderson, Zach Davies, Shashin, Brent Suter, Jimmy Nelson's on the DL till like August, unfortunately. That was a big loss for them. And I think that was the turning point for me. I think if Nelson was healthy, I would pick the over for them. But, 85 wins is a lot. And, usually teams that are put together like this and have big off seasons tend to disappoint in the regular season. They do have solid players, the Brewers, but I feel like something's going to go wrong. Corey Knebel in the bullpen, Josh Hader, I forget how to pronounce that. Boone Logan, he was with the Yankees, I remember him. I think they'll be a solid team, the Brewers, but I think 85 is just a little too much for my liking, unfortunately, so I had to pick the under there. And last, I put them at under as well, at 73.5. The Cincinnati Reds, they have some decent position players. You look at Adam Duvall. Billy Hamilton's okay. I think he's a little overrated. Scott Schebler hit 30 home runs out of nowhere last year. Scooter Gennett took a big step. Joey Votto is one of the best pure hitters in baseball. Eduardo Suarez is okay. The rotation scares me, though, for this team. You look at a guy like Homer Bailey, who never pitches a full season. Anthony DeSclafani gets hurt. Finnegan's hurt already. Luis Castillo, he might take a big step for this team. He came on at the end of last year. He's a big prospect for them, and a lot of fantasy baseball people expect him to be really good this year. And Iglesias in the bullpen, Michael Lorenzen, Wandy Peralta. This Reds team isn't great, and I think, I think they'll end up trading Joey Votto around the All-Star break or something, so I expect the under for them. I don't think they're going to be anything impressive. N.L West time, we start with the LA Dodgers. They won 104 last year. This year they're projected to win 96.5. I only picked the under because, it's not their talent. I think it's just because they're so much better than the rest of that division that I feel like they won't have to press too hard to get a lot of wins. I think what Dave Roberts is going to worry about the most is health. Clayton Kershaw's had some health issues the last few years, and, Alex Wood's never a picture of health himself. Ryu's usually hurt. Rich Hill's really old now. Well, not really old, but he's older. So I think keeping them healthy is the main concern. I like them bringing Matt Kemp back. Bellinger's going to be in his second year and most likely improve. Corey Seager's most likely going to improve. Kenley Jansen's the best closer in baseball as far as I'm concerned. Josh Fields, Tony Cingrani in the bullpen. This team it's solid everywhere. So, I just don't think they'll press too hard, so I'm going to pick the under, but I still think they're going to win the division easily. Next, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I picked over for them as well. They won 93 last year. This year, projected to go 85.5. I'm going to pick the over for them. I love their pitching a lot. Zach Greinke, Robbie Ray, who I think is going to be like a Cy Young contender this year. I've always liked Taijuan Walker in his Seattle days. He put it together last year a little bit. Patrick Corbin's solid, and Zach Godley might get even better from last year. A.J. Pollock's a good player. I like Jake Lamb. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt's probably a top 5 player in the NL. You look at the bullpen. Archie Bradley, who is a big prospect for them, came on last year. He was amazing. Brad Boxberger's a decent closer, so I think they can exceed that win total based off the starting pitching. I really like it, so with that being said, I have to pick the over. As for Colorado, their position players are great. They're giving an 82 over-under. They re-signed Carlos Gonzalez. Nolan Arenado's great. Charlie Blackmon's great. I'm not familiar with the Rockies' first baseman, honestly. He must be some new prospect they have, but all the other positions they have. Trevor Story is a pretty good shortstop. DJ LeMahieu's a great average hitter. The thing about the Rockies is their rotation, and it's never great, but that's not really your concern when you play at Coors Field. They have guys like John Gray. I've always liked him. Marquez, I think he has good stuff. Chad Bettis. Go to the bullpen. I like their bullpen, actually. Wade Davis, Mike Dunn, Brian Shaw, Jake McGee. That's a pretty solid bullpen, honestly. So I think the Rockies can get over 82, go over 500. On to the Padres. So the bad news for the Padres is right now they currently have 3 pitchers listed on the depth chart for their rotation, and then their ace is Clayton Richard and Brian Mitchell. I remember him from the Yankees. And they did sign Eric Hosmer. They have Will Myers, Manuel Margot, Jose Pirela. They got Chase Headley this year, or brought him back. A little reunion there, just like the Matt Kemp deal with the Dodgers. Brad Hand's a good closer. Kirby Yates is okay. I think the thing is with the Padres, 70 wins is not too hard to get. They won 71 last year. This year they bring in Eric Hosmer. They bring Chase Headley back, who was good in San Diego. So I'm going to pick the over just based off that. But their pitching is a real question mark. So, hopefully they have enough healthy bodies to get through a 5-man rotation this year. And, with that being said, I'm going to pick the over. On to the San Francisco Giants, and everyone's hyping them up because of the moves they made. And if it was 2010, I'd be pretty excited. You bring guys like Andrew McCutchen and Evan Longoria, who I think both are over 30 years old, on the back halves of their careers. And, hitting at Giants Park is not easy, not good for hitting, definitely Pitcher's Park. You look at their pitching, Madison Bumgarner's already injured. He's out for a couple months. Jeff Samardzij's on the DL. Johnny Cueto fell off last year. I don't know if he just hit a wall or if he's just getting older. Chris Stratton, not too impressed with their rotation. Hunter Pence is not the player he once was. As I said, McCutchen and Longoria, same thing. Josh Panik and Crawford, I like them. Buster Posey's a great hitter, obviously. Their bullpens, Mark Melanson's older. Hunter Strickland, Will Smith, nothing special. Sam Dyson, nothing special. So I'm going to pick the under for them, and I'm pretty confident in that one. I think the Giants have been a little overhyped this offseason. On to the AL, we'll go to the AL East. Start with the Boston Red Sox. They won 93 last year. They're given a 91.5 this year. You look at Mookie Betts, Benintendi, Bogarts, Devers. Who else they have? They got J.D. Martinez, obviously, this offseason. Some good talent on this team. Winning 91.5 games, that's a lot. So it's a really competitive division, especially with the Yankees, who I also picked under. You look at the Boston pitching, Chris Sale, David Price, not a fan of him health-wise. Rick Porcello has always been overrated. He had that one crazy year a couple years ago. The bullpen, Craig Kimbrell. Carson Smith, I think, is a really good reliever. I think if he stays healthy, he'll be great for them. Joe Kelly, I just know he throws fast. I don't know how great he actually is. I think the Red Sox, they're going to be in the wild card, I believe. And I said the Yankees win the division. But as for the Yankees, the only reason I picked under for them is because when I made a video for them earlier this year, I picked them to win exactly 94 games. Then I see they were supposed to get 94.5. So technically I have to pick the under. Obviously, I hope they get over that. You look at the Yankees, their lineup is stacked, and, acquiring Stanton and having Judge as well. Didi, a great hitter. Greg Bird is unfortunately already injured, might be out for a couple months, but you have Neil Walker to fill in there. Tyler Wade's going to step in at second base. The thing that concerns me is the pitching depth a little bit. After Jordan Montgomery, that's obviously 5 guys they have. They have Severino, Tanaka, CeCe, Sonny Gray, but after Montgomery, if someone gets hurt, I don't know who they're going to have to fill in. Chapman as a closer, Betances, Robertson, Kingley, Chad Green, so it's a very solid team overall. If the Yankees go over 94, I would not be shocked, but, just because of what I said earlier, I have to pick them under. Don't want to be a hypocrite about it. The Rays I picked under as well. I'm not a big fan of that roster they have. I like the Carlos Gomez signing, honestly. I think he might be a pretty big player for them, but they just don't have enough strength on this team to get over 77.5 wins. I think Chris Archer's going to get traded. Blake Snell's a big prospect for them. He might be really good. Jake Faria, if I'm pronouncing that right, he was good for them last year. They bring in veterans, as I said, Denard Span, Carlos Gomez, C.J. Cron from the Angels. Hechavarria was with the Marlins. Wilson Ramos, not a bad catcher. But the rotation, Archer, Snell, Faria, that's all right. But after that, they have no one else listed on their depth chart. De Leon was a prospect for the Dodgers, and Nathan Eovaldi, I remember him from the Yankees. He just threw hard. Wasn't that all that great. Alex Colomé is a pretty good closer. Sergio Romo, remember him with the Giants. I don't think he's as good as he used to be. So, with that being said, I don't think they just have enough firepower to be that good of a team. So I have to pick the under for the Rays. As for Toronto, they're given an 81 over-under. Toronto's, they're usually the same story every year. They're just a pretty good team. They're usually never great. They were great a couple of years ago. Um, Unfortunately for them, the Troy Tulowitzki trade kind of backfired for them. But they still have good players. Josh Donaldson's still very good. They got Curtis Granderson, Kevin PR. I like Randall Grichuk. I like that trade for them. Justin Smoke was good. Don't know if he'll be as good this year. Kendrys Morales is pretty good. Their rotation, J Happ. Hopefully they get a healthy Aaron Sanchez, Marco Estrada, Marcus Stroman, and Jaime Garcia is a solid fifth option. So I like the rotation for them. And then you look at Ozuna in the bullpen. They got O from the Cardinals, John Axford, Aaron Loop. It's a pretty solid team. I think 81's doable for this Toronto team, so had to give them the over there. Last, we have the Orioles, who they won 75 games last year. They're being very disrespected here, 73 wins. It's a tough division, I understand. But, I think they have a pretty decent roster. You look at Manny Machado, Jonathan Scope was good last year. Adam Jones is a good player. Chris Davis, he just hits a lot of bombs. Mark Trumbo, same thing. Tim Beckham was all right for them last year. Mancini came on for them last year. Look at the rotation, a lot of depth. Dylan Bundy, Andrew Kashner, Kevin Gausman, Chris Tillman, Alex Cobb, who they signed. I like that one. Miguel Castro. They have a bullpen of Brad Bratch. Zach Britton's on the 60-day DL, unfortunately. Darren O'Day. I don't think this team is that bad, the Orioles. I mean, they're usually at the same story every year, but I think they could get over 73. I mean, 73 is bad, so I don't think the Orioles are that bad, and I think they're a little underrated coming into this year. To the AL Central we go. When we start with the Cleveland Indians, they won 102 last year. 94.5 over/under. I had to pick the under because I picked 3 overs in this division. I didn't want to go 4 over. That's kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, I like their roster. Jose Ramirez, I think, is going to be like an AL MVP candidate. I'll get into him later. Francisco Lindor is a great player. Yonder Alonso, solid. Their outfield doesn't make me too excited, honestly. They have Edwin Encarnacion as a DH, great hitter, but Bradley Zimmer, Lonnie Chisenhall, Tyler Nyquin, not all that great in the outfield. You look at their pitching, though. Kluber, Carrasco, Bauer, I think is going to take a big step. Josh Tomlin. They have Clevenger. And, of course, Danny Salazar is hurt, unfortunately. I mean, he would be a great pitcher if he can stay healthy. I feel bad for him. Cody Allen, Andrew Miller. He's great. I miss Andrew Miller, honestly. McAllister. So, I mean, the Indians are obviously a solid team. But I think, with that being said, I gave 3 teams the over. So I have to lower someone's expectations. I still think they'll win a division, so I think a slight under for the Indians is what I'll say for them. Next, the Minnesota Twins, who were last year's big story. I think they lost 100 games in like 2015 or 2016, whenever that was. They came back last year and made the wild card. I really liked their pitching. It surprised me. I forgot they got Odorizzi and Lance Lynn. Look at their full rotation. It's going to be Irvin Santana, Jose Barrios, a great young prospect, Odorizzi, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson. Byron Buxton might take that next step and be a superstar, which some people expect. Miguel Sano, Brian Dozier, Joe Mauer's a good average hitter still. Eddie Rosario took a step for them in left field last year. Their bullpen, Francisco Rodney, Addison Reed, Phil Hughes, Zach Duke. Some noticeable names there. I think the Twins are going to be better than what people expect. As for the Royals, I wasn't too thrilled coming into this, thinking about the Royals roster, but after looking at it, I don't think it's that bad. They obviously brought back Mike Moustakas, which was a big thing for them. They still have Alcides Escobar. They have John Jay, Alex Gordon, Jorge Soler, who might be really good. I'm waiting for him to break out. Salvador Perez, unfortunately, I saw he got hurt today. He'll be out like 4 to 6 weeks or something. The starting rotation, Danny Duffy, Ian Kennedy, Jason Hamill, Nathan Carnes, not terrible. The bullpen, Herrera, Mauer, Justin Grimm, also not terrible. So, I think they can exceed those bad expectations they were given this year. The Chicago White Sox are given a 68 over/under, and that's neck and neck with the Tigers, actually lower than the Tigers. I think they're a lot better than the Tigers when I look at this roster. Jose Abreu is a great player. Yoan Moncada, most of us know him, supposed to be a huge prospect. Same with Tim Anderson, another big prospect. Avisail Garcia hit like 320 or something last year. He was crazy good. Wellington Castillo, I think, he's a good catcher. Matt Davidson hits a lot of home runs. Not sure about his average, though. The rotation, I mean, James Shields is not the same guy he once was. Lucas Giolito, I love him. I think he could be a really good pitcher for them. I think it's Ronaldo Lopez, I'm pretty sure. Carson Fulmer. Miguel Gonzalez is solid. I remember him with Baltimore. Joaquim Soria, Nate Jones, Jose Minaya. I mean, Danny Farquhar. It's not like a terrible team, and I don't think it's definitely a 68 win team. I'm going to put them a little bit over. But once you get to the dumpster fire of Detroit, that's a team I think is going to be terrible this year. I think them and the Marlins are definitely going to be fighting for that worst record in the league. Um, and the Tigers still have Miguel Cabrera, obviously. They still have Victor Martinez at 39 years old. But outside of them, who do they have? Jose Iglesias is a great defender. Leonis Martinez, all right. Nick Castellanos seems to disappoint every year. Um, their rotation, Jordan Zimmerman, I've always thought is overrated, very overpaid right now. Michael Fulmer, I kind of like him. Francisco Liriano, not doing it for me. He's too old now. Michael Boyd, Daniel Norris, they're okay. I guess they're young guys. They could get better. Shane Green, they have Alex Wilson as well. This team is not looking good at all. So not expecting them to be anything good. And if they lose 100 games as well, I would not be surprised either. Last division, we have the A.L West. We have the world champion Houston Astros. Won 101 games last year. They're giving a 96.5 over/under. I'm giving them the under because apparently their schedule to start the season is really, really tough. They might have like a World Series hangover. And, they're honestly a Justin Verlander injury away from being like, well, what do we do now? Garrett Cole was brought in. I think he's a little overrated, as I said before. Lance McCullers never stays healthy. Dallas Keuchel, I mean, he's usually good. Charlie Morton needs to stay healthy. Hitting-wise, I like this team a lot. Derek Fisher, not sure what to expect from him. Yuli Gurriel suspended the first few games. Ken Giles is pretty good. Davinsky, Will Harris. I think this is a really good team. I'm not saying the Astros are going to be bad this year, but 96.5 is a lot of wins, and I think to start the season they might start a little slow, but I think by the end of the year they'll still win a division, so I'm not really concerned about them. For the Angels have Justin Upton now. They have the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. They still have Albert Pujols, like half dead somewhere in the DH spot. They're still paying him. Andrelton Simmons. They brought in Ian Kinsler, Zach Cozart as well. Cole Calhoun. I think it's a solid team. And they have Garrett Richards, Andrew Haney, Tyler Skaggs, Ohtani they brought in, and Matt Shoemaker. They listed Ohtani twice on the depth chart. I don't understand why. But anyway, I'm going to give them the over, 84.5. I don't think it's out of the question for the Angels. I like them this year. There's a lot of hype around that team, so I'm buying in. Blake Parker, Jim Johnson in the bullpen. Mike Scioscia's a good manager, so they should be fine. On to the Texas Rangers. I like their hitting. They have Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrus, Odor, who hopefully will bounce back this year, Joey Gallo. A lot of home run potential with him. Nomar Mazara, Delano DeShields, I think is going to take a big step. Sinsu Chu's all right. The rotation, Cole Hamels, Doug Fister, Matt Moore, Mike Minor, Martin Perez. I mean, that's not great, but I think hitting-wise, this team will carry them. Diekman, they have Matt Bush, Claudio in the bullpen. They have Tim Lincecum as well. Look at that. And they have Jesse Chavez. So, I mean, this team pitching-wise is not terrible. I mean, they do have names that get hurt a lot, but if the Rangers were to stay healthy, they'll definitely get over that win total. They won 78 last year. I think they're a little better this year, so I'm going to give them the over. The Seattle Mariners, the team that burns me every year. I usually pick them to go over like every single year, and they never seem to do it. So this year I'm finally going under, and this is probably the year they'll go over. They have Felix Hernandez, James Paxton, who I really love, Mike Leake, who's an innings eater, good pitcher. You look at the hitting. Mitch Haniger was pretty good last year. D. Gordon, I like him, of course. Kyle Seager, Gene Segura is a really good player. Robinson Cano is a great player. Nelson Cruz, great player. Mike Zunino took a step last year. Edwin Diaz, I love in their bullpen. Juan Liasco, they have Nick Vincent. I think this is not a bad team, but I mean Felix Hernandez is not the same guy he once was. James Paxton is injury prone, and once you lose your pitching, it's hard to win games. And the Mariners seem to be mediocre every year, so them winning 82 games, I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. On to the A's, and I'm sure there's a lot of depressed A's fans out there. I don't see much to be excited about for this team. Matt Olson and Chris Davis hitting-wise are interesting. We look at the outfield, not too exciting there either. The rotation, Kendall Graveman, Sean Manaea, he's okay, he could be good. I don't recognize any other guys from this team, pitching-wise. Jonathan Lucroy, kind of like that signing. He's pretty good. He was good with the Brewers. Blake Treinen is their closer. Chris Hatcher, Sergio Castillo, Yusmeiro Petit. I don't think they have enough firepower. I know I said this for another team earlier, but I just don't think they have enough talent to win that many games, and I think 75 is pushing it a bit. With the Astros, the Angels, and the Rangers, Mariners, I think they'll all be pretty good in your division. It's gonna be hard for them to get wins, so gotta pick the under for the A's. These guys are my award picks. I have Giancarlo Stanton, AL MVP, Bryce Harper, NL MVP, NL Cy Young, Noah Syndergaard, and AL Cy Young, James Paxton. So the Cy Young's definitely gonna need some health there and luck on my side, but talent-wise, those pitchers are great. And as for the World Series, I'm gonna pick Dodgers versus Yankees. And of course, I'm gonna have to say Yankees in 7. I can't predict them to lose. So hopefully that works out. And thank you for watching, guys. You made it all the way to the end. And good luck to all your teams out there. And as I always say, let's go Yankees.